Always good to be on Maui. I'm Barbara Kim Stanton, State Director of AARP Hawaii. On August 11th, less than 2 months from now, we'll be having a primary election, and it is for a very important seat, as you know, the vacancy for U.S. Senate. And for today's debate, we're having the major Democratic candidates for the U.S. Senate.
The order for today's debate has been decided in advance by a coin flip. Ed Case has won the coin flip and has elected to go second. Ms. Hirono will now give her opening remarks. Ms. Hirono.
Thank you so much. Aloha and good morning, everybody. Aloha. Always great to be on Maui, and I do want to thank AARP Hawaii for hosting this debate. As I travel all across our islands, listening and talking with our kupuna, they share with me their concerns about their quality of life, access to health care. They worry about what's going to happen with Medicare and Social Security. I understand these concerns. My 88-year-old mother lives with us, and my grandmother lived with us until she was 98 years old. So you know I'm probably going to live a long time, too. They worked hard all their lives. They never asked for any handouts. They didn't have a 401k retirement plan. What they had was Social Security and Medicare. They paid into these programs. They earned it. And this is why when seniors hear about cuts to Social Security and Medicare, they get very angry. And what's worse, they get very concerned about what's going to happen to them in the future. And in our culture in Hawaii, they share with me their fear that they're going to become burdens to their families. I understand this. And this is why I will fight to strengthen Social Security and Medicare and find solutions that will actually help you, not rob you of the benefits that you worked hard for. And yes, to strengthen Social Security and Medicare, we're going to have to make tough decisions, but not decisions that will make your lives even tougher. We need somebody who shares our values, who understands that Social Security and Medicare are not just programs to manage, but commitments that we need to keep. And I intend to continue to be your champion in Washington. Mahalo.
Case.
Maisie, AARP members, friends, aloha.
Aloha.
It's great to be back on Maui on this incredibly beautiful Maui day, an island that has a special significance to me and my wife, Audrey. My great-grandparents moved here in 1902 and lived out their lives here. Audrey's grandparents also moved here in the early 1900s and devoted themselves to the community as well. And of course, I was privileged and honored to represent you in the United States Congress for a little over 4 years. Today, it is right that we address some specific issues having to do with Social Security and Medicare, two of the most successful programs our country has ever adopted. Two programs that have literally saved millions of lives and lifted tens of millions out of poverty and dire circumstances. America before Social Security and Medicare and after Social Security and Medicare was two different Americas, and I do not want to go back to the old America. And let me be clear up front and agree with Maisie, because I think we can agree on this, that as we look to preserving and saving Social Security and Medicare for the next generations, my children's generation, we do not have to reduce benefits for anybody that is receiving them today or that expects to receive them anytime in the near future. We are trying to preserve and save Social Security for the next generation as we have enjoyed it in this generation and as prior generations have enjoyed it. But let's be very clear and put Social Security and Medicare in the proper context. We cannot do that. We cannot succeed in overcoming so many other challenges until we do these three things: grow our economy, balance our federal books, and fix Washington, D.C. We cannot solve these challenges because we cannot put our heads in the sand and we cannot govern from the extreme. But if we face the decisions solidly, honestly, and together, we can overcome them.
Well, not surprisingly, our first few questions are about Social Security. But let me preface the questions first by saying this. We turn our attention first to Social Security. According to the latest trustees report, Social Security can pay 100% of benefits for the next 21 years and then pay 3/4 of benefits after that. So here's our first question. In 2010, 1 in 6 Hawaii residents received Social Security. More than 172,000 of them retired workers. What do you think is the biggest challenge facing Social Security? Ms. Hirono.
The biggest challenge, I think, is really the solvency and the continuing strength of Social Security. And there are a number of suggestions being made, but I'll tell you one thing I won't do. I will not support privatizing Social Security. And I also won't support raising the retirement age. Here's what we can do. We should lift the cap on payments into Social Security. Because anybody who makes over $106,000 right now, anything over that $106,000, no Social Security payments. If we lift that cap, we can keep Social Security solid for the next 75 years. That does not take away from any of the benefits that you all worked so hard and earned.
Let me exercise my discretion as moderator and ask everybody to refrain from clapping. I know you're very enthusiastic.
I like that.
You can clap at the end. The moderator has spoken. Just in case.
The biggest challenge facing Social Security is its long-term solvency, the ability of Social Security to deliver for the next generation what this generation enjoys and what prior generations have enjoyed, to maintain that social safety net that has saved millions of lives and lifted many, many out of poverty. That is the single challenge of Social Security. The other thing that we need to do with Social Security is to get it exactly right in terms of the priority of action now. Because although the moderator has pointed out that the Social Security Trust Fund is not, quote, exhausted until the 2030s, that doesn't mean that we don't have a problem right now. This year, we are paying billion, I forgot 3 zeros there. $400 billion a year out of the general fund over to Social Security and Medicare to keep them going. This is not a good situation. The income and expense lines have crossed and we have to rebalance it now. And that's what the Social Security trustees said also. Act now to save it over the long term.
Thank you. Okay. Let me ask you this. About 20% of Hawaii's 65-plus population would have incomes below the poverty line if they did not receive Social Security. Do you support raising the retirement age to help ensure Social Security solvency over the long term? Ms. Hirono.
I said earlier that I would not support raising the retirement age. And what I would do is what I mentioned already, which is to lift that income cap, because then, by doing that, this is Tim Geithner, our Treasury Secretary, who said just not very long ago, if we lift that income cap, we can keep Social Security solvent for the next 75 years. Social Security did not add to our deficit. Why should Social Security benefits be cut to balance our nation's budget? I don't think that's a fair way to go. We do need to get our economy going. That's what we ought to be focusing on, creating jobs for our people so that they will be paying into Social Security. That also will add to the solvency and strength of Social Security. Job creation should be the most important thing that our country is focusing on. And that's what I've been focusing on as a member of Congress.
Maisie and I agree on one thing, by the way, and that is that we should not privatize Social Security. But perhaps we disagree on the solutions to preserving Social Security over time, because I believe that you have to preserve Social Security by making some tough decisions, some unpopular decisions. And I will tell you that one unpopular decision has to do with retirement age, And I will say again, the retirement age does not have to be raised for anybody that is on Social Security today or anywhere close to Social Security. But if you look at the available options out there, the available options on both the revenue side, and I agree with Maisie on lifting the cap, and on slowing down the growth in benefits on the other side over the next 40 to 50 years, which is what we're talking about, I believe that there is a place, as we did in 1983, to slowly adjust the retirement age up from 67, which it hits in 2027, and then balances out at that point. And I think that's a fair deal, to give people in their 20s and 30s a chance to get ready for that, and that will balance Social Security fairly across the board.
Let me ask you this. You talked about Social Security, but which, if any, of the Social Security solvency options do you believe should not be on the table for consideration, and why? Mr. Hirono.
I've said that we should not lift the age cap, and there are studies that show that lifting the age of retirement, I should say, is not going to have very much of an impact. I'm looking for those solutions that will truly have a major impact on strengthening and keeping Social Security strong. And one of the strongest ways of doing that is by lifting that income cap. And I know that there are some other suggestions, but here's how I look at all of these suggestions to fix and strengthen Social Security. I always ask, it flows from the values that we have, because Social Security, as I said, is not a program to be managed. It is a commitment to be kept. That is a value that I have. So when I look at these solutions, I always ask myself, is this going to hurt the people who are paid into Social Security and are paying into Social Security? And if so, are there not some other ways that we can strengthen Social Security? And that is why I am a major proponent of lifting that income. In fact, most of the people don't even know there is a cap, because most people don't make $106,000.
Mr. Case?
Well, I think, first of all, to correct Maisie, the estimate is that raising the retirement age slowly into the future for people that are nowhere close to retirement right now, and we're not talking about 67 up to 75. We're talking about doing the same thing that we did in 1983, a slow adjustment from 65 up to 67. Accounts for about a third of rebalancing Social Security over the foreseeable future. And I think that that's a good, solid part of Social Security that we should do. Now, Maisie and I agree on lifting the cap, but I'm not sure that we agree on abolishing the cap. And I'm not sure that's what she believes either. And that's an important distinction, because we have to remember that every time we lift that cap, we are taxing somebody and the employee at 6.2% of his or her earnings, and the employer at 6.2% of his or her earnings. Now, if you eventually tax people too much, they're going to shut down, and then you're not going to grow an economy. Yes, you can lift the cap up. It should be lifted, but should it be abolished altogether? I don't believe so.